My name is Jairo de Jesus. I am the Senior Director of Operations for Sugarville Bakery in Tucker, Georgia.
Ms. Chloe Jones has been with Southwire for 2.5 years and was recently promoted to Industrial Engineer 2 at the utility plant in Carrollton. She has a bachelor's degree in industrial engineering from Auburn University, where she was a member of Alpha Omega Epsilon, a professional engineering sorority.
My name's John Hudson. I am the co-owner of Wintech Incorporated. We're a precision aerospace machine shop in Kennesaw, Georgia. Bought the company October will be 4 years ago with my business partner, Allison Giddens.
What was your first job and what did it teach you?
Great question. So my career path really kind of started back when I was in college. In my sophomore year, I saw myself in a situation where I had to run out of scholarship money and I had to get a job to kind of help us apply for college. I went to work for Tyson Mexico Regional in Springdale, Arkansas, where we make tortilla shells. It was a food manufacturing, and inside that facility, I did every single job besides being a blender operator and a forklift driver that requires certification. And due to the amount of time that I have in the company, I didn't have enough time to get the certification. So working in the manufacturer, working in food, I really enjoying the environment. I really enjoy what I was doing. And for me, being industrial engineer, it's like, that I see the similarities here or learning the industrial engineer concepts and be able to apply into the manufacturing setting. So I went back to college and after school, I went into the logistics field for a little while. And within 2 or 3 years, I saw myself back in manufacturing again. I've been doing food manufacturing for over 20 years. And I really kind of grow in the food industry. I started out as a supervisor and manager and as a director. And for the last 15 years, I've been running facilities, basically responsible for the entire organization when it comes to food manufacturing.
I started out in 2015 at Auburn University. I was actually a chemical engineering major, and pretty quickly, after 2 years, decided that wasn't a good fit at all for me. But it did give me the opportunity to do a co-op, and a co-op is basically a 3-semester internship, so you're alternating work semesters and school semesters, and I did that at a paper mill in Macon, Georgia. So, coming out of college, I already had a year of industry experience, which was really great. I'm really thankful for that opportunity. And, my first semester during my co-op, I changed my major to industrial engineering, learned some about it, and then did that and graduated in May 2020, which not the best time to graduate college, but I was, just looking through jobs on Indeed and everything and applying for different jobs, doing interviews, and I came across Southwire, which I'd never heard of before. Just random, job posting, industrial engineering, manufacturing, sounds interesting, and applied and interviewed and was offered a job. And then 2 weeks later, I'm moving to Villarica and starting my job in the Villarica substation plant. So they're a smaller plant, about 112 employees right now. And then worked there for about 2.5 years and then decided, I really like it here. I really like my coworkers, but I want something more. I want to step up, work in a bigger plant. So I decided to apply for industrial engineering 2 position at our utility plant, which is about 550 employees, much bigger footprint as well. And I was offered that role and started it right about 4 weeks ago.
My career path, that's a good one. Well, that's going to go back to high school. I was fortunate enough, I went to Osborne High School in Marietta, and I was fortunate enough to have a plethora of different shop classes. We had auto mechanic, we had building construction, we had welding, and we had machining. And I took welding and I took machining, and I liked both of those, but I was not the best of students. So Osborne High School asked me to leave. So I went to an alternative school and didn't work out there. So I wound up taking my GED and worked various jobs until I decided I wanted to be a machinist like my brother was, my older brother. So I went to Chattahoochee Tech and started taking machine and tool. And I started out my first shop was Merida Machine and Tool, and I swept the floors and eventually learned how to run some of the different machines. And I was there about a year, and I was going to Chattahoochee Tech at night full time and working full time. And then I interviewed with Wintech in probably 1990. And the owner at the time was Dennis Winslow. And he asked me what I wanted to, where I saw myself in 20 years. And I said, sitting in your seat. Well, started with him at Wintech, started here at Wintech. I swept the floors again, cleaned machines, learned more machines, learned how to program the machines, and just learned how to run every piece of equipment that we have on our shop floor, all CNCs, water jets, mills, lathes. And then I moved into the routing aspect of the company, which a router here, they take the blueprint and they decide how that job's going to proceed through the shop. So I did that for, I don't know, about 6 to 8 months. And then he gave me the opportunity to be the router and run the machine shop. So I was then the manager of the shop. And that's kind of how I got here, because after he started the company in 1988. And like I said, in 2020, he had enough, and me and my business partner bought him out. So that's how I got here.
What is a typical day in your role? Are there any misconceptions about what your job is like?
A typical day for me really starts with when I get out of bed. Get out of the bed, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check my phone, check emails to be able to understand what is going on in the facility, any major topics they have to deal with on the prior night and so forth, and kind of get my day started. So we have a lot of KPIs or key performance indicators that we're looking to measure the business, how well we're running, the type of downtime that we had, our attendance, and so forth. So that gives me a good idea what we're dealing with for the day. So once I arrive in the facility, I already have a good idea as to how things are running. I'm going to do my rounds. I'm going to go talk to my people, say my good mornings, see how everybody's doing, how is that day, how is that family, how's the thing going with my folks, make sure everybody's well to go for the day. Once I do my rounds, I'm going to start my rounds of morning meetings when we talk to my managers and supervisors and talk about the day again, talk about what we're doing, what kind of issues that we have, planning for the day and planning for the week. And once that round of meetings are done, I'm normally going to have about 1 or 2 touch points with the corporate folks and pretty much give it the same opportunity to talk about how we're performing for the day and what are the things that we have going on for the facility. Once all that is done, we're normally going to start working more on the strategic part of the business. We're going to start talking about how we're performing for the month, what we'll be doing for the quarter, what kind of trainings I'm going to have for my team, where we're going to get some people in place and so forth. We're going to talk about your one-on-ones with your managers, career development and things in that nature. So, so this is ongoing. Is an ongoing process. Just think of it like if you were playing sports. Think of it like, if you play varsity football, where you're going to come there every day, you're going to do your workouts. After do your workouts, you're going to go for your routes. Then you're going to have your team meetings. You're going to go for your plays and get ready to play on that Friday night light. So in manufacturing, every day we're going to be going for trainings, going for routes, and be able to deliver day in, day out. That's our Friday night lights.
Again, I just started this job, so I'm still settling in. I actually, I'm in a management role right now, but we haven't hired the people I'm going to be managing. We haven't started that yet, but so again, just right now I'm getting settled in. I come in every day, check my email, check in with my boss. We have a morning meeting every morning at 9 where the different departments will discuss what they need from maintenance or safety or any of the engineers. And then use a couple different meetings. I try and go out on the floor every day, especially at this plant. I'm trying to learn where everything is and learn all the different machine numbers and what people are talking about. At my previous plant, I'd usually go out and talk with all the operators and see what they're working on, if they need help with anything. My job right now is a little more specific because I'm working for the materials manager. So previously I was kind of a general plant engineer, just supporting where needed, but now I'm kind of specifically looking at our work in process. Southwire makes wire, if I didn't say that before. Our work in process wire, any scrap that we need to get rid of, anything that's been sitting around for a long time that we, just sitting there collecting dust. Okay, why haven't we sent this? Why haven't we scrapped this? Looking at kind of reducing our inventory to a manageable level. In my previous role, this isn't what I went in for, but it's what I ended up doing, which happens a lot. Was managing this one specific product that we had because it was a cross plant product. So it was actually made at this plant, the utility plant, and then shipped to the Villa Rica plant for another process. It just had to be printed, and it went in a big sauna to cook the insulation on the outside. So my job was to keep track of all of it and figure out, it had to go, we had to test it in batches, and then we had to send it to a third-party tester samples. So my job was to organize those samples and organize what was cleared to ship and communicate that to our shipping manager, and communicate to the utility plant and use software to keep track of what reel it came from, because it would come from, we'd have 10 finished reels that came from one reel of the conductor, which is the inside metal. It was a steel and aluminum. So keeping track of basically all these reels the whole way through, and there were some issues with it. So I did a lot of just tracking that product and organizing it, and just keeping track of all the batch numbers and everything. And then again, I'd go around and talk to everybody. I usually had a weekly audit that I did of a certain area. So I check, was the area clean and what needs to be fixed, and something that's important for me. It wasn't just, what can the operators fix, is what can we as management help them with, and, help them, because that's kind of the point of industrial engineering and manufacturing, is to help the operators be effective at their job. So working on that kind of thing. I've done time studies to figure out, how fast the line needs to be running. I kept track of any changes we needed to make to the setup of the material. I made guides for the operators to use for setting up materials and doing different functions of their job, just so that they had written instructions. I did a lot of those. I don't know if that's day in the life, it's more just the stuff I worked on. It really just depended on the day. There'd be days where I stayed in my office all day, except for a little bit, and then there'd be days where I was out on the plant floor, observing something, doing a time study. It just depended on whatever I was working on. And that I like I know consistently, what I need to do, but day to day, it's not the same thing.
I'm going to dual source here. First, I will talk about my position as being a business owner. Being a business owner, everybody thinks you just sit around and count money. But in all actuality, this company has 40 employees, but I will be the first, and my business partner, Allison, would do the same. We have 40 people that work for Wintech, but we work very hard for those 40 people. We are responsible for making sure that they have work to do. We're responsible for making sure that their benefits are in place. We have responsibility to make sure that they're getting all the materials and tools that they need to complete their job. Where it's our responsibility to make sure that we have customers to send us the work. So there's a lot of work that goes into owning a business, making sure the lights stay on, make sure the water stays on. So it's not as glamorous as most people would think it is to own a business, because, most of the people who work here at Wintech, they work 40 hours and they go home. I work 6 to 7 days a week. So there's you're going to put your time in. The biggest key there is, make sure you're getting quality people in to put them in place to be able to take some of that burden off of you. And we're still doing that. But, yes, my goal is to eventually one day get to where I'm just sitting around counting money. Doubt it'll ever happen, but that's my goal. Now, The dual source I'm going to talk about is actually on the shop floor, starting out as a machinist and be an actual machinist. So a typical day of a machinist would be they would come in and they would be given a blueprint and the material that is required, and whether they needed to use a mill, a lathe, a CNC mill, or a CNC lathe, or a welder, or a press brake to make that part. They would determine that by looking at the blueprint and seeing what the final configuration of the part's going to be. There's a lot of math involved, more geometry, trigonometry, and your common math of fractions, decimal points, being able to convert millimeters over to inches and vice versa. So, because we do see drawings that are in millimeters. So then they're going to take their machine, their material, and that blueprint, and they're going to create a part. And it's kind of hard to describe unless you've actually seen it. And, Wintech does have a website that you can go and you can kind of see a video of how a part would travel through this company, and kind of gives you some good ideas of what we do. But at the end of the day, they're going to make sure that their print or their part that they've created meets that blueprint, and it has, tolerances that it has to fall within. So that's pretty much a typical day of my job and machinist job.
What kind of education, training, or certifications does your job require?
As a senior director, you're now getting more into executive level. So we are going to try to, I'll say a bachelor degree is the minimum that we're going to require for this job. Although I have seen some folks who have this job without having a college degree, but definitely a bachelor degree is something that's going to give a big leg up. A master's degree is definitely a big advantage. If you have yourself a master's degree, primarily in business or engineering, it's going to be very helpful as well as you continue to go through progress into your career. Certifications such as OSHA 10 hours training is very good. Lean manufacturing, Six Sigma, those type of certifications are good for you because those some industrial concepts that you're able to learn and apply into the job was going to help to have a more strategic view in how to apply that to your position. So needless to say, everything will require a high school diploma. So that's the ticket for interest. And then once you get a bachelor, that's a leg up. A master's is definitely an advantage, and some of those more professional certifications would be helpful.
So my job specifically, you need a bachelor's in industrial engineering from an accredited school. I also, I started working, Excel knowledge is really helpful, and just the ability to learn different programs and that kind of thing. I started learning Excel in high school, and I've pretty consistently used it. So, and most people can, get a job with just bachelor's. Having that co-op experience really put me ahead. And also I'm actually going to grad school in the fall, which isn't necessary, but it's something personal I want to do. And I think also will help me in my career for my goals.
We've actually had folks come in, right out of high school. It's a longer learning curve, or you can go to Chattahoochee Tech and take machine tool. There's other regional tech schools that offer machining or advanced manufacturing, CNC programming, different courses like that. But you really need to be, you don't need to be, well, it helps if you're someone who likes to work with their hands. You can visualize stuff pretty well by looking at a picture of it. Math skills are very important. You're going to be doing math every day. And those are probably the biggest traits you're going to need, and have an eye for detail and precision.
What kind of skills and traits are important for someone to be successful in your job?
One of the biggest things that we do, a lot of people if you start thinking about your skills and trades, you're going to start thinking about, oh, I need to have this type of education and so forth, which is definitely very, very helpful. I'm never going to discard the fact that if you're going to have a college degree, it's going to definitely give you a leg up as far as giving the ability to apply different concepts. But the biggest thing in working in a manufacturing, to me, almost like any job, are the soft skills. Are you a good team player? Are you able to be very coachable? Are you work well with others? Are you on time? Are you reliable? These type of skills are going to take you a long, long way, because if you have those type of soft skills, we will teach you everything else. Whatever industry you decide to work in, you're going to learn what is required for the job. But those skills I just talk about, those soft skills, you gotta bring that with yourself, because that's what's gonna make you differentiate yourself from somebody else and to be able to have opportunities to grow. So along with have some good technical skills and capability, but those soft skills are very, very important for in working at manufacturing site.
Technical skills are obviously really important. The being very detail oriented and seeing the small parts, but also being able to have a project and be able to complete it from start to finish every step of the way, and not get lost in the details, kind of a balance. And for personality traits, for industrial engineering, people kind of make stereotypes about engineers, but the people skills are actually really important. I think it's important to be able to communicate effectively with anyone, right? So I need to be able to communicate with, vice presidents, executive vice presidents, and also people on the floor, even people who just started, and people who have been here a long time. There are people who have been with the company over 30 years, and they know more about how the machines run and the floor runs way more than I could. So it's really important to be able to get that knowledge from anyone and communicate.
You need to be someone who likes to be able to create stuff, take a blank canvas, if you will, a blank piece of material, and turn it into a part, something that may go on a F-22, it may go on a F-35, it may go on in a weapon system, it may go into a machine that makes cookies. There's really nothing that you touch throughout your everyday, unless it grows out of the ground or it's your skin or someone else's skin. Everything has its start in a machine shop. Everything. I don't care what it is. People go, well, what about a t-shirt? Well, a t-shirt, it's made from different materials, but all those materials were processed through machines that the parts to that machine were made in a machine shop. Everything starts in a machine shop. We're kind of like the wizard behind the screen, in the Wizard of Oz. We're kind of behind the scenes, because most trades and other jobs you see every day when you drive down the road, you can see someone building something, you see someone painting something, you see an electrician, you see HVAC folks working on your air conditioners. You don't really see machinist or manufacturing unless you go into a plant. So it's kind of, you don't really see it. It's not out there in view.
What are good salary expectations in your field?
Okay. So in the manufacturing, you're going to have different roles. You're going to have roles that are more advanced, they're more technical. You're going to have roles that are more entry level, they're more manual. So if you're going to a packer position, basically going to be packing, it's a packing process of goods. You're probably going to be making between $15 to $16 an hour. If you start going to operator level, you're going to be a machine operator, you're going to be managing be a process operator, or you're going to looking more to the $18 to $20 an hour. Then you're going to start talk about the lead. If you're able to be a team lead is about $21, $22 an hour. And then we'll start talking about your technical side, your maintenance mechanic, your electrician. A maintenance mechanic in a manufacturing setting, you can make anywhere for $30 to $35 an hour. If you have the electrician background, electronic background, or this thing called PLC, the program logic control technician, you can make $35 to $45 an hour.
It varies. it depends on, what kind of experience you come in the door with. Let's see here. $45,000, 40 to 45, coming in very green. You coming in seasoned, you're going to be, 50 to 65. You come in knowing everything you need to know, and you can go out there and make the company money. You're looking between $70 to $90,000.
What advice do you have for someone just starting their career?
If you just start your career in manufacturing, be very coachable, be very open-minded, knowing that where you start is not where you're going to end. What people are looking for as an associate, as an employee, are you coachable? Are you willing to go the extra mile? Are you reliable? Can you learn? How do you have leadership skills? And the leadership skills that people are looking for is doing the right things when people are watching. That is very, very important. And also be able to influence others to do the right things. As you show those type of skills and you show those types of attitudes, people are going to start noticing you and going to start to invest more on you. I think I mentioned that before. Everything that you need to learn in the in a manufacturing setting period, people want to teach you what you need to learn as far as skills wise. But if you have those soft skills, if you show those leadership attributes and the willingness to learn and being coachable, people are going to try to spend more time and teach you those processes. As you learn those processes, you're going to continue to grow. Take advantage of opportunities, take advantages to learn. I have a quote that I love, and the quote is, "A mind is a terrible thing to waste." Continue to learn. For me, I'll be learning every day is a learning opportunity. Learn a new concept, learn something different, and be able to apply that. But be open-minded, be coachable, be willing to go the extra mile, and good things will happen for you in your career.
Be open to change and new opportunities. I'm not doing what I thought I wanted to do when I was 18 and graduating high school. But I'm really happy with where I am now. I don't even know if I knew where Carrollton was. But I'm really glad I ended up here. And also, so yeah, just if you think you might want to go for it, change your major, do an internship, do a co-op. And also don't be afraid to speak up. Especially like there have been many times where I'm both the youngest person in the room and the only woman in the room. So you have to be able to communicate and talk to people. And you might have that thought, you have an idea, and you're like, oh, no one's brought it up. That's probably because someone already thought of it, but they didn't think it was worth bringing up because it's not a good idea. It's very possible someone hasn't thought of that idea yet. So speak up. Just if you have an idea, share it. And because there have been times I've had that thought. I'm like, well, what if we do this? But no. And I actually share it, and everyone agrees. Oh, that's a really good idea. I hadn't thought about that. So don't doubt your own intelligence.
Make sure it's for you. If you enjoy what you're doing, stick with it. You're going to do a lot of grunt work to begin with, and it's typical. But anytime you're given the opportunity to learn something new, don't just go along with that opportunity. Grab hold with both hands and make sure you own it, because every bit of knowledge that you gain on a manufacturing floor, that's just another bullet in your belt. So when you go to, argue for a raise or what your value is, you've got all those bullets in there. So yeah, just take advantage of any opportunity you get to learn, and do not be afraid to go do your own learning and your own research, and study on your own. When I first started at Wintech, I had probably about 2 hours between my end of work and when my classes started at Chattahoochee Tech. And the shop and the school just happened to be about 3 miles apart. Well, I stayed at work on my own time just to learn new machines or new cutting techniques or just learning different stuff at the shop. So I could then go to school and be that much more knowledgeable when I was in school and able to go, okay, well, I understand what you're trying to teach me now, but what's next? What's next? You should always be looking for, okay, but what's next? But make sure you understand and know what you have just absorbed. Make sure you retain it.